Can I turn to you, Rolf? You belong to one of the largest companies in the world, and you have worked in India and all. What are some of the things, now you've been here for about 6 months, what are some of the challenges that you see for Sri Lanka, since you have spent a lot of time in India and in Asia?
Yeah, I think one topic which has not been discussed today is that I think your talents are also running away. They're basically leaving the country to work somewhere else. I know where it is better to work than in Sri Lanka. I came to Sri Lanka because I think it's one of the best places. But when I walk down the Gold Face Road, I think there is a very nice example of observing productivity versus non-productivity. If I look at the Chinese buildings there, and next are the Indians building a building, and you can count the towers of the Chinese, whereas the Indians, I think, are not even halfway. But you also see it when the people work there. You know, the Chinese are working day and night, and the Indian eating a lot of lunch, coming late in the morning and leaving early in the afternoon. I think that's a nice comparison. The question is, why is it like that? And maybe it's a part of the culture, but maybe it's also a part of the incentive system. Maybe it's also a part is, do we give them enough recognition, aspiration at work?
Okay. Singham, can I just move on to you? I know you have done a lot of work in Malaysia, and we were having that conversation earlier where you have actually got even worked with current Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, who is now 92 years old. Right? We talked very little about leadership. Can you talk a little about leadership and what leadership can do to actually do this transformation?
Sure. Can you hear me all right? Yeah. 92-year-old Prime Minister and leadership lessons from him, Tun Mahathir. Look, I think there's so much written about this, but if I think about his leadership in his first term of 22 years as Prime Minister and his more recent term, there's probably, in my mind, 3 things that stand out, and that I think really stand out about him. Number 1 is vision and details. You probably heard about Vision 2020. He is a visionary leader, but he is a detailed leader too. So for example, you're talking about towers. Malaysia had these twin towers, right, that built up. Some of you may have visited it. He was there twice a month, okay, unannounced. They had to, and by the way, when he shows up, he doesn't just wander around, he's asking engineering questions, right? So they had to actually keep an engineer sleeping in the guardhouse because they didn't know when he was going to show up, right? So vision and details together in a leader is very rare. Okay, you have leaders with vision but no detail, detail with no vision, that's one. The second point is he diagnoses and has solutions from first principles. He was previously a doctor. Right?
Okay.
So he's trained to look at a patient and say, this is your situation, that's what you need. Yeah. As opposed to, and I completely agree with you, that's the best practice from Singapore, that's the best practice from the US, let me just do this, right? So famously in 1997, the Asian financial crisis, Malaysia was the only country to say no to IMF, right? Put capital controls in place and get that out. Now it's celebrated, but then it was looked at with some disgust, right? But again, that's because he diagnosed it with first principles. And the third piece is his energy. I serve governments around the world. Since the Malaysian election on May 9th, when he was elected Prime Minister, the most common question I get is, how do you get to 92 and be able to, have that kind of stamina, right? I actually don't know the answer to that question, but I do know in 22 years of government, he was unstoppable, and this is, Mahathir version 2.0, the energy continues. I mean, he's jumping on buses and campaigning, he's just unstoppable. So his energy for the country, I think is going to stop till he's not going to stop till his last breath, which is quite stunning.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? I'm very happy that you have retained the audience actually, despite we are run beyond 11:30. Any questions, Tissa? Any thoughts? Yeah.
One question that you were also shocked about the state spending 5 billion rupees. on training.
Yeah,
But
not 5, 30, 12 billion. 12 billion. 12 billion.
Let it be any figure. But then most of that goes for foreign Johns. What I am emphasizing here is send them to school. Secretary mentioned, Sri Lankan Airlines mentioned, we work with an administration that has not been to school. So first thing is Singapore University. State University of Singapore has good 1 month management training programs. I have sent many people there. USA has good management training programs which run about 3 months. There are, even India, after Modi came in, have been to a few of them, have started good public service management schools in India. Now, Indian public service is highly advanced. They don't even serve their minister. We experienced that when we went on the FTA discussions, right? They don't serve the minister. Right? They don't even get up from the seat when the minister comes. They are that powerful. So that is what our secretary was very powerful at that time. We had worked together. So that's the type of state official that we require in this country, to be firm, and also the administrative service to have a uniform playing field. We don't have that uniform playing field now because at that time administrative service was trained specifically on administration. Now is that happening now?
Yeah.
Can I answer your question? Yeah, they have included all such institutions and other good institutions in their foreign training programs. The matter is the amount of learning that they get from this training institution, local or foreign, whether they put back to the development in the country in real practice is the question. There are so many officers go and get their masters qualified, and a few go and get their PhDs qualified, but upon return, what is their contribution? There is a question there. And administrators, in addition to administration, they do a lot of other work as well. And that can be another problem.
This, I think what happens is the best and the brightest join the public service, and they are not nurtured thereafter. Yeah. Lionel, any thoughts from you? He heads skills development side.
No, we are discussing about the productivity.
What's your budget at the Vocational Training Authority?
I was the Vocational Authority.
Yeah. How much is the budget?
The budget there is about almost 1 billion.
1 billion?
Yeah, for all activities.
Okay.
So my question is the productivity. We are discussing about the productivity. Whether in the public sector, where the public sector, where the productivity has been properly used. We have been discussing this over and over again. But in my opinion, it has not been practiced. All these monies that we given to the government sector, we have not used it properly, because the productivity is not in enforce. That is my opinion.
Okay, so you are saying productivity is not measured?
Not measured. There are there are various determinants to measure, but they have been not practiced, put into practice, as she said.
Okay.
There is a drawback.
Yeah. Dr. Imbuldeni,
I have seen, this is something that most people would not like to speak about, how, politicians who are very good in getting votes and coming to power, once they become the minister in charge, they see the opportunity to put people in certain jobs. Now, we do not have any criteria for the conduct of business by the minister. It's provided in the act that, he's got the right to appoint that person. Now, I don't want to mention names, but institutions that I have reviewed, I have seen the wrong, incompetent person getting into a position, transforming that institution into a total mess and making the entire professional staff. Now, these are institutions not just at the, very basic level, but very having to deliver policy at the highest level and becoming incompetent, disabled, and demotivated. And then another person comes after him when the ministers change, and then that person is saddled with all the problems that have been created. And this is the case with most of our government institutions. So actually, before we try to develop the productivity by training our CEOs in the government system, we need to train the ministers mechanism of picking CEOs for these institutions, actually. That is one of the important things. And I like what Silan said about, the leadership being a good leader as well as being detail-minded, you see, because that I have seen is fully absent because the leader doesn't know what's going on at the ground level. Thank you.
Dinesh, one thing what I noted, what Siemens' presentation is, this online real-time reporting system, where that can improve the productivity and all these things, because we need some push from some side. One thing, 1919, the information system, now we have to go beyond that one, where the people can report incidents. And then everybody is using smartphones. It's a very simple mechanism. Using the digital to improve the productivity of the country, that's a very important thing. And it's low cost, very effective, and the people knows. Now, still they have not fixed this problem. It's going on. And comments, people might put comments, all these things. The digital tool where we can use this to improve the productivity, because it will push the government sector to do this, so, and somebody, a central organization can monitor that also. If it is not happening, why? What's the problem? So, that's one good tool where Simon proposed. I think if we can implement that one, will be very useful for the citizens of the country.
Thank you. Thank you. You like to, given your exposure in digital and all that, would you like to respond to that?
No, I fully support what he's saying, and I mean, we're talking about appraisals before. I think it even goes one step further. Where we need digitals also is what we call instant rewards and recognition, instant feedback, instant comments, which I think even the private industry is not yet there. McKinsey has spoken about the future, so that's a step ahead, but we cannot walk around digital. In our own companies, sometimes I see some people trying to oppose the digital world, but we cannot stop. Everybody has to go digital at the end of the day. It's 5 years, 10 years, but we have to go there.
Okay. There were one or two questions somebody was asked.
I am representing the Provincial Council.
Provincial Council, okay.
Northern Provincial Council. There are positive factors I can say. This SLIDA has developed the capacity building for class 1 officers. That is very successful. We also followed that continuously. All island service people are getting benefit. That's a good move. But similarly, all the secretaries should be given the chance, because they are our heads. They are the chief accounting officers. So without their interest, it is very difficult to implement what we learn. Especially this personal development plan was the very good module. So it is necessary for all. And second is the last year Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament, Sri Lanka. That was the first time they did the evaluation, and they awards given to all the departments in Sri Lanka, all provincial councils also. There are good moves. But one thing is that from our Public Service Commission member, there are good transfer policies. There are good minutes for service. But this transfer done, that was not effectively done. So reason may be several reasons. So then only the competency people will get a chance to work in the competence place. So as you said, the policies are developed, that is kept in the table, but not implemented. So I think these are the things to be changed in the public sector, and very critical things. National level, SLIDA is working very well. But in the Provincial Council, 1/3 of the population, there's a unit, management development training unit, even no department. There are few staff, but there are 35,000 in Northern Province. Only 5 or 6 officers working in the development unit. How you can strengthen the 35,000 population? So these are the things I think the very high level, policy level people should consider the Provincial Council system. Otherwise, it is better to abolish the system. Thank you.
I think SLIDA that way is doing a lot of good work. It's just that I think you have to find a way of decentralizing it. so that more people get
Actually,
engaged. You know?
a few years ago,
Yeah.
all these trainings were conducted by SLEDA,
yeah.
but it also has its limitations in the capacity.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why it was delegated to the provincial councils level.
Yeah.
But I think the ministry is also has observed that it is not happening the way that was expected.
Yeah.
Something has to be done to address that.
Yeah, there were 2 or 3 questions. Somebody was asking me, since I'm close to the top, why I can't influence. So I've been trying. So we'll continue to try and see what we can do on that. So I like to actually close with what you said. You said a very important point. Even actually, it's very unfortunate the minister was not there. You said for policy you need intellect, but to actually implement you need experience. I think that's where I think we have a big issue. I'll leave the last word to you.
I have a couple of things to share with you. One thing is that training our fellow senior guys in foreign universities like Singapore or Harvard or elsewhere, do we know how many people have got that training and what has happened to them after training? That's numbers. I think maybe Human Resource Council can do that. Why can't they implement implement the knowledge they have acquired while they have undergone training? I know that some of the people have trained in Singapore National University, also Australian National University. What is happening to the knowledge they have acquired? That is to be investigated somewhat, right? Then with regard to these IT people, then we were talking about digital economy, digital knowledge, etc. With regard to the public sector, maybe private sector, I don't know. I think that I think they can, private sector salaries are competitive. There is no hard and fast, policy like that. Easy. But in the government sector, if we want to recruit an IT graduate, what would be the salary? Maybe about 35,000, 40,000. What is the market rate? Minimum 100,000. Minimum 100. What can we do in the public sector? You can't do anything. You can have IT guys, but not the qualified IT guy. So those issues to be addressed maybe by the Human Resource Council or by the government. That should be addressed. I don't know how
actually,
to
the Prime Minister proposed that we set up that talent corp where we can bring in the skills from outside. But we couldn't push it through cabinet.
That's the problem. Then of course, if you are going to pay these people IT guys high, then others are fighting. There will be then government will have to pay the trade union. That's the problem because those are practical issues over here. That I don't know how to address those issues. Apart from that, of course, there should be what kind of political model.
One option could be we can talk to the private sector and ask them to second somebody for about 2 years or whatever.
Who is going to pay for that?
No, the private sector as part of their CSR.
But you can't continue in that way?
No, for 2 years or whatever till we build somebody from within.
Continuity will be a problem because even in my case, of course, I am going to develop integrated database to manage the social welfare program for which I want IT people. But if that's a continuous process. You can't have 2 years, 3 years people there, then of course what is the continuity of the program? It's a big problem. So what I wanted to say, if we want to proceed, what kind of political ideal we are going to have? We are going to have democracy. I think we are in line with the Western democracy. If that is the case, what is the relationship between politics and administration?
That's a good point.
Now there is no, because even by the end of 90th century, that debate was there in the United States, right? They wanted, especially late former President, USA President Woodrow Wilson, he was the first guy to write an article on that, dichotomy between politics and administration, right? There is no, it is said that, politics begin where, administration begin where politics end. Here you don't find end and beginning. That's the whole point, because politics elsewhere, administration also in that same. So if you want to be very clear, allow the administrator to administer. Maybe only political link at the highest level, maybe secretary's level, head of department. Politicians shouldn't go beyond that. That political interference has to be stopped. If there is commitment for that, even now of course, when you want to appoint inspector of the police in the local station, divisional secretary of the divisional station, district secretary, all the people, politics involved. How can you expect them to, play an independent role? Commissions are there, but Public Service Commission has nothing to do with the appointment of those people. Because if we do that, they will say that no, we can't have our own, person to the place concerned. Maybe police station, divisional secretariat, district secretariat. What can we do? Those are the issues to be addressed. That is what I like. There should be a kind of administrative and the political culture of this country. That cannot be I think introduce the association is very difficult, but we have to do that. Extremely challenging, I would say that.
Okay. So on that positive note, I'll close this. Thank you very much, the panel.
So we'd like to express our appreciation for our panelists in a form they can take home with them. So we'd like to invite the chairman of NHRDC to present some tokens, beginning with Mr. Seelan Singham, the senior partner for McKinsey, Mr. Rolf Blazer, designated CEO, Bowers, Sri Lanka, to Mr. Kanaga Sabapati, the president, public sector wing of CA Sri Lanka. Now Mr. S. Ranagi, member of the Public Service Commission, Ms. Wasanta Pereira, the Director General of SLEDA, and of course Mr. Pradeepa Kakulavala, the President of the AHRP. And just as we appreciate our speakers and panelists of today, we also would like to thank People's Bank for their support as sponsor, which made today's gathering possible. Now, as you would have noticed, today's discussion is just a beginning. The road to the end goal may be long and sometimes convoluted, but we realize now that those steps are necessary. And we hope that today showed you that there are resources, there are people with a vision for change. So reach out to them, collaborate. Buffers are stronger together after all. And we wish you success on that journey for all our sakes. And for the more immediate journey, probably back to work, we wish you good weather and roads that are free of traffic. Have a very good day.